Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Sri Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, recorded by M., the disciple of the Master, Mahendranath Gupta. Sri Ramakrishna Bhakta Sange Shyam Pukure Prana Krishna Batite. Sri Ramakrishna in the house of Prana Krishna along with the devotees. প্রতিবেশী যারা সংসারে আছে তাহলে তাদেরও হবে? A neighbor is asking a question. Those who are in the world, will they also attain liberation, attain realization of God? Here there is an interesting incident in the life of Swami Brahmananda-ji, Raja Maharaj. A person asks him, is it possible to realize God in the world? He said, is anybody out of the world? What it means is, as Ramakrishna said, we may be in samsara, but samsara should not be in us. A boat may stay in water, but water should not stay in the boat. Which means the samsaritva, the worldliness, should not be in our mind. Worldliness consists of attachment to kama kanchana, lust and greed, and being under the sway of the Shad Ripus, 6 terrible enemies: Kama Krodha, Lobha Moha, Mada Matsarya. Kama, lust; Krodha, anger; Lobha, greed; Moha, delusion; Mada, pride; Matsarya, envy or jealousy. These are terrible enemies which prevent us from seeing God, realizing God. So God realization is not something that you attain because you are yourself of the very nature of the infinite. Why is it that we are unable to realize that? That's because of the veil of ignorance of Maya, of these various enemies. So God realization, in a sense, is a negative effort in removal of various veils of ajnana. Then the sun of knowledge within shines of its own. It is covered by dark clouds, but the clouds are removed, clouds move away, then you have the sun which is shining forth. Sri Ramakrishna, সকলেরই মুক্তি হবে, তবে গুরুর উপদেশ অনুসারে চলতে হবে. Everybody shall realize God, everybody shall be liberated, but one has to follow faithfully, sincerely, and with great devotion, devotedly, the teachings of the Sadguru, a real illumined teacher. Not anybody and everybody can claim to be a guru. He'll say this just now. বাঁকা পথে গেলে ফিরে আসতে কষ্ট হয়, মুক্তি অনেক দেরিতে হয়, হয়তো এই জন্মেও হলো না, আবার হয়তো অনেক জন্মের পরে হলো. If you take a crooked path, the path which doesn't straight away lead to the supreme goal, then your progress is hampered, hindered, and it may take a very long time for you to come back. Perhaps you don't come back at all. This life it doesn't happen. It may take several lives. জনকাদি সংসারেও কর্ম করেছিলেন. People like Janaka were in samsara in the world, and they were engaged in karma. Still they were great jnanis. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Janaka played with two swords, one the sword of karma, the other the sword of jnana. He used to sing a beautiful song, Janaka Raja Mahateja কিসের ছিল তার ত্রুটি, এইদিক ওইদিক দুই দিকে রেখে খেয়েছিল দুধের বাটি. Janaka Raja Mahateja was a man of very powerful intellect, heart, absorbed in Brahman, thought of Brahman, at the same time extremely devoted to Nishkama Karma Yoga, and he kept both karma and jnana, living in samsara as it were, but not corrupted by samsara, not attached to the samsara, and keeping both this as well as that. He used to drink milk from his cup. He was all the time happy because he was playing with two swords, easily and happily. জনকাদি সংসারেও কর্ম করেছিলেন, ঈশ্বরকে মাথায় রেখে কাজ করতেন. So the vital statement here is keeping God on your head, you do what you like. Janaka kept God in his heart and his head. What does it mean? That means you are constantly, continuously dwelling in God, moving in God, your consciousness is absorbed in God, and at the same time, you move about in the world doing good to others without any attachment. Why does it say Mathai Kore, keeping on the head? He is telling a story now. As a prelude to that, he said Janaka kept God in his head. নৃত্যকি যেমন মাথায় বাসন করে নাচে, আর পশ্চিমের মেয়েদের দেখো নাই মাথায় জলের ঘোড়া, হাসতে হাসতে কথা কইতে কইতে যাচ্ছে. Have you not seen the dancers? They keep a load on their head and dance with ease. And have you not seen the women in the north, when they go to fetch water from the river, they have several bigger and smaller pots. A smaller pot, on that another, and that another, 3 or 4 pots they keep on the head full of water, and they don't need to hold it also. The balance is so spontaneous for them, and happily conversing with their companions. They keep walking back home with these pots filled with water. That is abhyasa. So make a habit of living in God, moving in God, and what Brother Lawrence says, practicing the presence of God. This is a very easy practice. Imagine, it could be imagination now, but it is based on truth, and therefore the realization will come sooner or later. Imagine that God is by your side all the time. When you get up in the morning, bow down to Him. Oh God, I slept off, I am awakening, you be with me. When you go for bath, you say, I am going to clean my body and mind, therefore give me purity, give me devotion. When you go for work, take God with you. What is the meaning of this? One simple worldly example, which Sri Ramakrishna also gives, Just like an extremely worldly person attached to his wealth feels great pull towards money, bank balance, how to increase his wealth. Just like a very loving mother is deeply attached to his child, just like a chaste wife is attached to the husband, if you combine these three pulls and direct it to God, you shall realize God. In the worldly life also we see, suppose you love somebody very deeply, whatever you may be doing, wherever you are constantly carrying him or her in your heart. And these days you have you have WhatsApps and you have video chats. So you constantly call him or her, chatting, seeing his or her photograph, conversing, again doing some work. In the midst of work, now and then you connect. So the thought of that beloved, the person, doesn't leave you even in the midst of your work, even everything. Even during sleep also you dream about him, dream about her. So if this can happen in simple, ordinary, worldly love, which is perishable, if it is directed to God, how much more powerful it would be. The very, very simple teaching which is given by the avatars, by the incarnations of God. For example, Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what should I do? I'll give a simple instruction, a formula. Sri Krishna says, Macchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. 10th chapter, 9th verse, 10.9. Macchitta, those whose minds are absorbed in me, given to me, madgata prana, all their energies, pranic, vital energies are directed towards me, bodhayantah parasparam. And when they converse among friends, they talk only about God because it is beloved. You can see how teenage boys and girls constantly discuss their lovers and beloved. This is the worldly love. Even then it is so powerful. What to speak of godly, divine love? Bodhayantah parasparam. When they come together, those who are devoted to the same God are devoted to Ishvara, worldly, spiritual life, not worldly life. They constantly discuss divinity, discuss God, discuss the Leela, the various plays of God. If you are devoted to Sri Krishna, for example, you discuss the Mahabharata Leela, you discuss the Balya Leela, you discuss the Gopika Leela, you discuss Kurukshetra Krishna, it is the Mathuradhisha Krishna, Krishna in ever so many forms, and you feel greatly delighted. Athayantascha mam nityam. So they discuss me in ever so many forms and they find it so delicious, so delectable, so tasty, the name of God in the form of God. Tushyanticha, ramanticha. Tushyanti, they become greatly satisfied. Ramanti, they are delighted. This is the only practice that we need to do. A very, very simple practice which is doable, practical, and with a little practice and when the heart goes out to God, this need not be practiced with effort. It spontaneously goes. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. This is all that you need to do. And what God gives you in return is enormous, infinite reward. What is that? Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Tesham satatayuktanam. To these people who are constantly devoted to me, attached to me, connected to me, bhajatam priti purvakam, with tremendous priti, love, attachment, affection, they worship me, they think of me, meditate on me. To such people, what do I do? Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I give them a special faculty called buddhi yoga. Through this buddhi yoga, they come to me. Such a simple practice. What practice can be more simpler than this? You are not asked to go to difficult places like the Himalayas and caves and forests and meditate. Close your eyes and meditate for hours together. Nothing. With tremendous longing and love for God, think of Him, meditate upon Him, sing His glory, talk about Him to everywhere. What is important? Satata yukta. That is the key to the understanding of this. Yukta, connected. Yujudhatu means connecting. Yukta, satata yukta, always connected. The Gita uses the yukta word so many times in different shades. Satata yukta, nitya yukta, yukta tama, supremely connected. In the modern language, all of you know the importance of connectivity. The moment you go for a conference anywhere, if you are put up in a hotel, the first thing you ask, what is the Wi-Fi code? Wi-Fi password. Everybody is looking for Wi-Fi connectivity. And that connectivity, for how long? Always. 24/7 Wi-Fi connectivity. And what is more, infinite broadband. Any number of videos you can upload and download, any number of songs you can sing, any number of chats you can have. The data and the bandwidth is infinite. So satata yukta yoga means satata yukta, nitya yukta. Yukta tama means, in the modern language of the computer and the internet, 24/7 infinite broadband connectivity to the cosmic mind, the Vishwarupa, the infinite and the absolute Parabrahman or the Paramatman. You call him God, you call him incarnation, call him Ishtadevata, or whatever name you like. This is the simplest. Spontaneously you have connectivity. In some places you don't have even to log in and then use a password. Because the password is automatically built in the psyche. This password is called the mantra. Why is the mantra to be kept very secret? Because it is sacred. If you known only to you and the Guru, because it is the password which connects you to the Lord. Those of you who talk about transparency, openness, will you share your password with anybody? No. Because it's my personal. I connect to my beloved Lord, the infinite, and it's my password which connects. So develop the habit of constantly being in infinite broadband 24/7 connectivity to the Lord. This is called yoga. You are always connected. Through that, the Lord gives you a special capacity called Buddhi Yoga. And through that Buddhi Yoga, you realize Him, you meet Him, you enter into His presence. Vishate tadanantaram. The last word in the Bhagavad Gita, what happens to such a person? He enters into me. He enters into the divine infinite life. What practice could be simpler? Everybody has a spark of love in his heart. It may be worldly love, it may be carnal, it may be attachment to the wealth or a woman, but the current of love is constantly flowing in everybody. So just direct it to something higher. Why should you direct it? Why not worldly love? Why not your wife and children? Why not your wealth? Why not your possession? Because these things will go, come and go. When it comes, you are delighted. When it goes, you are depressed. So if you want constant joy, which doesn't come and go, which doesn't diminish or increase, so you have to connect to the infinite source. If you connect to the infinite reservoir of knowledge and love, which is God, and the connectivity is always kept up, you will never go dry. You'll never get discharged. Discharging takes place when you get disconnected. So constantly strive to be connected. This is what he says here. মাথায় জলের ঘোড়া হাসতে হাসতে কথা কইতে কইতে যাচ্ছে. The world is there in their heads. You have to perform so many kinds of duties, so many troubles are constantly coming to you. But still you are not affected because you are connected to a divine source. Practice the presence of God. You talk to your Ishtadevata, with Krishna, Kali, Ramakrishna, whoever. Talk to him. Unburden yourself to him. Don't go to worldly people. Don't go to your friends and relatives to talk about your miseries. There's a beautiful saying in English. Don't share your sorrow with others. Why? Half of them don't care, and the rest half will rejoice. If somebody is in trouble, the subtle pleasure which others get is something very strange. I'll give a very simple example. Suppose an old fat man is walking on the road and there's a banana peel. He places his foot on that, slips and falls. What is the immediate reaction of everybody, including you and me? And then we'll say, oh, he got hurt. Why? The human mind is sadistic, small, finds pleasure in others' suffering. That is the lower mind, impure mind. The spontaneous reaction of the impure mind. So what do? You talk to God. You don't have to go anywhere to talk to Him. He is there residing in the depths of your own being, in the recesses of your heart. Ishvaras sarva bhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. Oh Arjuna, Ishvara is living in the hearts of all beings. Hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. He is, as it were, making us revolve as mounted on a kind of a machine and go round and round and round. Helplessly we are revolving because He makes us revolve. So He is just there here in your heart. Just look at Him, call Him, cry before Him, unburden yourself to Him. You can directly talk to Him in a language of your own. You can sing to Him. So many wonderful, divine, elevating songs are available in all the languages. You chant hymns, sutras. Somehow or other, keep connected to God. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishne niyojayet. Somehow, by whatever means, connect your mind with Sri Krishna, with the divine. প্রতিবেশী গুরুর উপদেশ বললেন, গুরু কেমন করে পাবো? The neighbor is asking a question. Sir, you talked about the instructions of a guru. How can we get a guru? Sri Ramakrishna's answer is very interesting, very important. যে সে লোক গুরু হতে পারে না. All and sundry cannot be the gurus of the world. বাহাদুরি কাঠ নিজেও ভেসে চলে যায়, অনেক জীব জন্তুও চড়ে যেতে পারে. Bahaduri কাঠ, a big log of wood, floats in the river itself, and it can also carry so many people on it. হাবাতে কাঠের উপর চড়লে কাঠও ডুবে যায়, যে চড়ে সেও ডুবে যায়. So if it's a very weak one and it can't carry a load, then the piece of wood also sinks, and anybody sitting on it will also sink. Even a crow or a bird sitting on it will also sink. তাই ঈশ্বর যুগে যুগে লোকশিক্ষার জন্য নিজে গুরু রূপে অবতীর্ণ হন, সচ্চিদানন্দই গুরু. Punchline, repeatedly think of it, meditate upon it, tell yourself this line. তাই, therefore, ঈশ্বর যুগে যুগে, Ishvara, the divine Lord, age after age, lokashikhar jonno, for teaching the world, nije guru rupe avatirna hon. Lord Himself manifests as the Guru in age after age. Satchidanandai Guru. Satchidananda alone is the Guru. This is Ramakrishna's fundamental teaching. All the various human gurus whom we worship, from whom we receive inspiration, spiritual instruction, and so on. So what are they? They are but channels of the Satchidananda who reach us to Satchidananda, just like you open the tap and you got water. You don't put garlands in the tap and worship and say, "Oh tap, you have given me water." Who gives the water? The tap gives you water. Tap is connected to the tank above. And where does water come from to the tank? It's connected to a bigger tank somewhere, a reservoir. Ultimately, water comes from the sky in the form of rains. Then you have the various rivers and various water reservoirs and sources. So it is the rainwater from above. Exactly the same way, the spiritual current is flowing from above, from the infinite Lord. Above is used only figuratively, just to explain. There is nothing above or below. The power of God, the current of God's love, spiritual river constantly flowing. You have to just connect. Sri Ramakrishna gives a very good example. When you are rowing a boat, in those days, the motorboats were not available, so they had to row the boat. And to keep the boat's direction, they used to have a sail. And they will manipulate the sail according to the direction of the wind. When the wind is very favorable, strong, then the boat is automatically carried. The boatman doesn't have to do anything much. So Sri Ramakrishna says, reconciling self-effort and divine grace. He says divine grace is like the wind which is constantly blowing. It doesn't stop at all. Day and night, day after day, year after year, continuously, always, this divine grace is flowing. Blowing constantly, the wind. What do you have to do? You unfurl the sails. The sail has to be unfurled and the wind automatically carries you. That is a small effort that you have to do. What does it mean? That means the river of God's love, the current of God's mercy, the infinite wisdom of God is constantly flowing as a torrential river. If you want to purify yourself, just go to the river and take a dip. Don't say that the river is to blame for your being dirty. The river says, come, have a dip and purify. You'll become clean. We do not want to take a dip, but think that the river will come and pour on us. Even that is possible, if God wills it. But you have to make the effort of just plunging into the water, that's all. And if you plunge into it, you become purified, you become metamorphosed, and you become divine. Dubu 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 roop sagare amar man. Sri Ramakrishna's very favorite song. Dive deep, O mind, in the ocean of God's beauty. Doob de re man kali bole, hriday ratna kore agad jole. O mind, take the name of God, take the name of Kali, and then plunge into this ocean. And this ocean contains in its bosom, at the depths, rarest of gems, with so much of luster and beauty, such valuable, priceless gems. Ratana manika kato pore ache shei jole. Tumi dam samarthe ek dube jao milebe ratana phale phale. Doob de re man kali bole, doob de re man kali bole. Ratna and Manikya, gems and rubies and valuable stones are all there at the bottom of the ocean. You just dive deep and you'll get it. But be careful, the terrible sharks, alligators and crocodiles. Particularly there are 6 terrible crocodiles. Shadaripu, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, delusion, pride, jealousy or envy. These are terrible crocodiles and sharks constantly moving about in the ocean. They may simply devour you, swallow you. So, you smear yourself with the turmeric of viveka, discrimination, so that they can't come near you. Kamadi choy kumbhir ache, ahar lobhe shodai chole. Tumi vivek holdi, गाय में खाए जाओ chobe na. So if you smear yourself with that Viveka haldi, the turmeric of Viveka or discernment, they shall not come near you. Sri Ramakrishna has sung this song so many times. Doob dere man kali bole. Doob thou, doob thou. Don't float on the surface. Kabir Das is a wonderful poem. Whoever dived deep got the precious pearl. I was foolish. I was naive and stupid. I was terribly afraid to dive and therefore was sitting on the bank. So these are the great truths which are revealed by the scriptures and great men. जिन ढूंढा तन पाइया गहरा का पानी पैठ मैं बौरा डूबन डरा रहा किनारे बैठ. जिन ढूंढा, whoever searched for it, went after it, were diving deeply, they got it. So he says, Satchidanandi Guru, Juge Juge Ishwar Lokashikhar Janno, Nije Guru Rupe Avatirna Han. It's called Dharma Glani. In the Bhagavad Gita, the well-known verse, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutthanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam Srijamyaham. Yada Yada, whenever Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati, there is a decadence of dharma, decay of virtue, religion, godliness, and abhyutthanam adharmasya, just the opposite, vice, sin, wickedness, violence, impurity, all of them when they are in the ascendant, then in order to protect the virtuous and uphold dharma and destroy the adharma, I come age after age. Tada atmanam srijamyaham. How is it that the infinite Lord comes into the human body as a finite human being? There is a great mystery of the avatara. This is not logical. Avatara tattva cannot be logically explained because the infinite can never become finite. And therefore, Bhagavan Bhashyakara Shankara says, as if he has become small, finite, but in fact he is infinite. Ajo visannavyayatma bhutanam ishvaro pisan prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavam yatmamayaya. Atma Maya, my own Maya, my own power, divine power, Shakti of Brahman, taking hold of it, I assume a human body. Ajaha avyayatma api. I am unborn. I am the infinite, without decay, without growth. Bhutanam Ishvara. I am the supreme Lord of all the beings. I take the hold of my own Prakriti and I am born. The mystery of the avatara. Sri Ramakrishna says, he alone can be the Jagat Guru. Lokashikhar Janna Juge Juge Avatirna Han Satchidanandai Guru. It is the Satchidananda alone who is the Guru. All the various gurus we think about and talk about and see are but channels of Satchidananda Guru. Just like the tap water gives you easy access to water, it may be in the bathroom, it may be in the kitchen, You quickly get water by opening the tap. You don't have to go to the big tank every time to get water. Or in the olden days, they didn't have this kind of a facility. They all go to the river every time to fetch water, or some reservoir or some well. Now, just by opening the tap, you get it, because it's all connected. The water pipeline carries that water to you. So this water, which is Satchidananda, the infinite sky, it rains and gives you water, and that flows through different pipelines, different connections of the pipes, and it becomes accessible to you when you open the tap. So the Guru, which is like a tap, makes the infinite Satchidananda easily, directly accessible to you in your own kitchen or the bathroom or the bedroom, so that you don't have to go anywhere for water. The infinite and the absolute, Satchit Ananda, existence absolute, consciousness or knowledge absolute, and joy or bliss absolute. He can't be so easily accessed by ordinary minds. So the Satchidananda assumes a form, as it were, in the age after age, as an incarnation, as an avatara. And the power of Satchidananda, the power of Brahman, becomes accessible to you in your own place in the form of a human guru who in effect is only Satchidananda. Satchidanandi Guru. So whenever we worship the human gurus by saying Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, or Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Remember, it does not mean the Guru who has given you initiation of the mantra into spiritual life, initiation. It does not mean he is Brahma, he is Vishnu, he is Maheshwara, he is Parabrahma. It does not mean that. It means Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Parabrahma, all of them are reaching you in the form of this Guru. Satchidananda, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Parabrahman, the power of that infinite is manifesting through this Guru in a bigger and smaller way, so that you may directly access that and be elevated. That's what it means. Don't confuse these two. The human being which you see as the Guru, he cannot be Brahma or Vishnu or Maheshwara or Parabrahman. It means the Parabrahman, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, which is Satchidananda, is using the pure body and mind of the Guru in order to reach you with a particle of spirituality to quench your thirst. Just like the tap water gives you relief from thirst, exactly the same way the human Guru, through whom the power of Satchidananda flows, quenches the spiritual thirst of the disciple or the aspirant. Gyan kake bole? See how Sri Ramakrishna combines bhakti and jnana, yoga and karma. Page after page you can see the harmony and the blending of the four yogas. Jnana, bhakti, karma, yoga. Gyan kake bole? Or ami ke? See, this is the highest wisdom in the path of jnana. You inquire into the nature of your own self. Who am I? We use the word I hundreds of thousands of times. There was a research conducted by the American Psychological Association to find out what is the most common word used in the English language. Can you guess it? Obviously, it is I. Every time we talk about I, and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Aham or I is the name of Brahman. Mandika Upanishad says, Om is the name of Brahman. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Aham or the I is the name of the Atman. Since Atman and Brahman are identical, non-different and the same, what you call the I, in its essence it is Brahman or the Atman. Atman is designated by I, Brahman is designated by Om. So Om is a Brahman, Om is Atman and the I. Om ityetadadag sarvam tasyopavyakhyanam bhutam bhavad bhavishyaditi sarvam onkara eva. Mandukya Upanishad begins with this verse. Om ityetadidam sarvam. All this is only Om. Tasya upavyakhyanam. It can be explained and described, explicated as follows. Bhutam bhavad bhavishyaditi. Past, present and future. Sarvam onkara eva. All this is only onkara. And what about that which is timeless? Yachanyat trikalatidam tadapi onkara eva. That which is beyond past, present and future, that is timeless, that is also onkara. Next verse says, Sarvam hetad brahma, ayam atma brahma. See how the Upanishad connects. Sarvam etad om. First verse said this. Second verse says, second mantra, Sarvam etad Brahma. All this is only Brahma. That means Om, Sarvam is Om, Sarvam is Brahman. That means Om equal to Brahman. Sarvam equal to Om equal to Brahman. Ayam Atma Brahma. And this Atman is Brahman. So the equation is Sarvam equal to Om equal to Brahman equal to Atma, Atman. This equal to is also very tricky. It does not mean this is equal to that. There are not only this and that, there is only one which appear to be this and that. This is called equality through identity. In mathematics and physics we talk about it. This is not equality of two different things, but it is the identity which is expressible in two different ways. When I used to teach physics, I used to give the students a simple example, which is as follows. The Prime Minister of India is the most powerful man. The President of India, Rashtrapati, is the supreme head, but the Prime Minister enjoys all the powers of execution. The Rashtrapati only gives anumodana. He assents. He accords his assent. In the American system, the President enjoys all powers. He is a supreme. He is executor, executive head. So suppose you want to make somebody understand by comparing these two systems in India and America, you say the Prime Minister of India equal to the President of the United States. What does it mean? President of the United States is one entity, the Prime Minister of India is another entity, and as far as the powers are concerned, the supremacy in execution and policy making is concerned, these two people are the same. But it is not that the President of India and the President of USA is the same as the Prime Minister of India. They are two different beings. They are being equated in terms of the powers that they wield. I'll give you another equation. The Vice President of India equal to the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha, the upper house, all of you know, is chaired by, governed by, headed by the Uparashtrapati, the Vice President of India. Suppose to write an equation. The Vice President of India equals the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. What kind of equality is that? It is identity. It is not that the Chairman of Rajya Sabha is one person, the Vice President of India is another person and they are equal. No. The same person is Vice Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Vice President of India and the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. So what is the difference between the first equation, Prime Minister of India equals the President of the United States, and the second statement, Vice President of India equals the Chairman of Rajya Sabha? The first statement is a statement of equality. Two different entities equated in a particular fashion in terms of something. In this case, they are equated in terms of their powers, policy making powers, the capacity to be able to control, regulate the entire country's policies. That is an equation which means two different entities are being equated. But in the case of the Vice President of India equal to the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, it is not equality, it is identity. The same person who is the Vice President of India is the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. The first is equality, second is identity. So when we say Atman equal to Brahman, it is not equality, it is identity. This has to be very carefully borne in mind when you talk about the Mahavakyas. There are four of them. Tattvamasi, Chandagopanishad, Aham Brahmasmi, Brihadaranyaka Ayamatma Brahma, Mandukya Upanishad, Prajnanam Brahma, Aitariya Upanishad. These Mahavakyas, talking about the equality, actually talk about identity. It is not Atman equal to Brahman, Atman identically equal to Brahman. In mathematics, what we do is, we put equal to with 2 lines, identically equal to, we put 3 lines. That means this is not equal to that, this and that are one and the same thing. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. There is a expanse of water. You put a stick there, water appears to be divided into two, the left and the right. Water on the left of the stick, water on the right of the stick. Now, when you remove this stick, the water on the left and the water on the right become one. Will you say the water on the left merges with the water on the right? Or is it not right to say there is only one undivided expanse of water which appeared to be divided into left and right by the presence of that stick? Carefully think about this. This is to be very deeply contemplated. Otherwise, we always make a mistake that I am Brahman. There is only one entity. It could be called Brahman in one sense and Atman in another sense. Microcosm is the Atman, macrocosm is Brahman. And the macrocosm identity is the very essence of the Mahavakyas. These are identity equation. So when we say that this Atman itself is Brahman, that means it is not that Atman merges into Brahman. Many people have this idea, Atman merges into Brahman when you realize the supreme reality in the Brahman, as if a river merges into the ocean. This example is given in the Upanishads also. Just to make us understand, does not mean that Atman is going and merging into Brahman. There is only one entity which is called the Brahman, which could be called Atman in one sense, the Brahman in another sense. It's an identity equation. And it is not an equation that left equal to right. So Ramakrishna says in this example, the stick which is there, lathi, aham rupa lathi. It is the I. When the ego comes up and says, I am an individual, immediately there is a division. When you remove this sense of I, there is one homogeneous Chaitanya, Vijnana, Akhanda Ekarasa, indivisible, homogeneous, Satchidananda Swarupa. And that is our real nature. How Sri Ramakrishna is driving from bhakti suddenly takes the path of jnana and explains this. The beauty of every line of the Kathamrita has to be studied, meditated upon, discussed. When all of you come together, take the Kathamrita, discuss some passages. And the family, every day before you go to bed, let the wife and children and the husband and the father-in-law, mother-in-law and the old people, all of them come together. One of them will read some passages from the Kathamrita. Everybody will listen just for 15 minutes. A page or two. Then with the divine thought you go to bed. Make it a habit. Just read the Kathamrita a page or two every day. Then you see how it elevates you as you proceed day after day, year after year. Newer and newer meanings are revealed to you. That the power of the scripture, power of the word of God. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.